Hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another episode of The Practice. This show is an unrehearsed, unedited look into my workflow. I'm Stuart. I'm a 3D artist, designer, illustrator, animator, and your friend. And I'm excited, as always, to get into another episode this week of creating an original piece of art live on the air over the course of the next 2 hours. So thank you for tuning in. These shows are always great when folks are in the chat saying hello, saying what's up. We like to answer questions and, strike up a dialogue with the community at large. So please feel free to drop a question, drop a note, say hello. If there's a little piece you're working on, if there's something you're excited about, you want to get more eyes on, a little bit of a critique, a little bit of a feedback, drop a link in the comments section. We can pull that up a little later in the show. And in the meantime, I think we should start getting into it. You may recognize some of the reference imagery we've pulled up here, and I'll have to admit that I, like many of you, perhaps have been caught up in the Game of Thrones hype. Season 7's been pretty great so far. I'm a big fan of the series, and knowing what's going on in the show right now, and wanting to give it a nod and wanting to partake a little bit in the Game of Thrones fever, I decided to work on Dragonstone today, which is, for you Game of Thrones nerds out there, you might know that this is the Targaryen castle, the place where Daenerys recently returned home to in the beginning of season 7, and it integrates a lot of the things that I like to work on in my pieces anyway, right? Like it's this really cool landscape on a hill. It's got the water. It's right on the water here. There's this cool island, this cool rocky island off the coast that has this little dragon statue on it, and of course there's this really neat castle. So I think this is going to be sort of the view we look at, and is going to be sort of our focal point, if you will, this sort of beach view up into the castle with the cliff. But we've also got this great sort of rocky island off to the side that I just referenced, which will be really cool to add as well. So keeping the intro rather short and sweet this week. Probably ready to just jump in there and get working on this thing. So thanks for stopping by. Feel free to say what's up, and let's get in there. So as always, we'll start this episode by just sort of blocking stuff out, getting a camera view that works, starting to block things out. I think this is likely going to wind up being a pretty wide format image, and we'll go ahead and get that camera view locked in early. Let's do that. So we'll set up what'll be sort of the water first. Get that horizon line going, and we'll start building in elements around there. Dexter, hey, what's going on? It's been a while. Thanks for stopping by. Working on a Game of Thrones castle today. I've become, in the last little while, become a bit of a Game of Thrones mark. How have you been? Definitely want to set up a bit of a plateau on these mountains. So start messing with this plateau level. So give us a nice sort of flat spot at the top. I think we'll probably even want to, I don't know if we want to zoom out or make that stuff further away. Perhaps even a little smaller as well. Once we sort of blocking these elements in. And this off to the side here is going to be our little rocky island. I'll probably want to set the beach up around here because I think this would sort of be your view from the beach. Thanks, man. Appreciate the kind words. Yeah. Good to be busy, I suppose. Hopefully, you've been working on cool stuff. And I will say, I'm probably not going to look to, super accurately reproduce from this reference imagery. I want to put a little bit of my own spin on it, of course, and I'm also probably not going to be building the castle, from every angle like a complete model. I think I'll probably just be sort of working from this point of view and making this more of a static illustration as opposed to a 3D model which has accurate views from each side. So full warning, I'm not going to be rotating around this thing fully and making it 100% accurate from the show. This is going to be really like my impression of the thing, and I think that'll be cool. I'm going to work on the coastline a little bit here. That's actually a pretty good place to start. I'm going to use soft selection. Just kind of drop some of the areas here and lift some of the areas around here. There's a bit of your sandy beach there. Shoot. I have been watching. Yeah, it's really good. We've even, we've been with some friends of mine, we've been alternating like Game of Thrones parties, hosting responsibilities at each of our homes. We actually, my wife and I hosted the first episode. Had some people over, made some Game of Thrones themed food, and yeah, I've been super fired up about it. Been really enjoying it so far. They always leave you with some crazy cliffhangers there. You never feel like the episode's quite resolved, and we were all pretty freaked out when Theon jumped ship at the end of the last episode. I guess I should say spoiler warnings. I guess that's probably the first time I've ever had to say that on this show, but I'll probably be discussing whatever I want relating to Game of Thrones during this episode because I am a huge fan. I've been keeping up with it, and it's excellent. Yeah, so now we got most of this cliff blocked off. I'm gonna start roughing out this castle. I'm hoping that I can get to this all in one episode, but there is a chance that the complexity of this is going to require, more than one episode, which won't be the end of the world. We could do a two-parter. We've done that in the past, and, I'm so hyped about Game of Thrones right now that a two-parter might be pretty cool, actually. But yeah, let's see how it goes. We're making decent progress so far. We're only about 15 minutes in. So let's see here. Really just simple shapes at first. I'm going to start blocking this bad boy out. What's cool is it really is built into the cliff, so I should have it overlap to a certain extent. And like I mentioned, I'm probably going to do it just from this view and create, sort of an illustrated piece rather than a full 3D model of the castle. So apologies to all of you looking for like a Dragonstone modeling tutorial. It's going to be a little bit less of that, and it's going to be a little bit more of just creating this scene. And I want to get the lighting nice and some water effects, and of course, get some rocks and stuff going on in here. So that's what we're looking at today. You're so right, Dexter. It's just it toys with your emotions. You're a moment away from having your favorite character die or kill somebody at any given time. It's really good though. I love this show. So it looks like we've got a number of these sort of, I guess you'd call this like a buttress coming out onto the cliffs. This is, like I mentioned earlier in the show, this is I can't believe I haven't thought to do this earlier. This is really right up my alley. Like, not only can we create this cool, dramatic coastline landscape with these rocks and cliffs, but also get to incorporate some architecture into it, a really cool castle. So this is really right up my alley. Whoops. This is probably a little too big. And I will probably create a little bit of my own version here. Take a few liberties, kind of make it my own, which I'd always encourage everyone to do. All right, so Whoa, that went far away. Cool, man. Yeah, I'll pull that up in a little bit when we're doing some renderings, but I definitely want to check out what you've been working on. Um, and for those of you just joining, I should mention that I am, like many of you, totally caught up in the Game of Thrones hype and am working on Dragonstone right now. bit tricky getting a good angle on this castle. Of course, you want it to be compositionally strong and have all these elements interact in a way that works. Well, this top tower seems to be kind of like this triangular shape. Let's sort that out. The best way to do that is like this, actually. Cylinder. I think I could turn the cylinder down to just 3 rotation segments. Boom. Oops. There we go. All right. Also think we should move this camera up just a hair. Maybe rotate it up as well. It's a bit of that dramatic effect. Give us plenty of room sort of in the upper end of this composition to get the height on this castle that's going to make it look cool. And a little bit of this is kind of just like creating greebles. I'm sure if you guys know the term greebles, but it's basically like fake details. If you ever watch a science fiction movie and you see, a big spaceship and there's all these little details, these little bits on the surface of the spaceship that make it look like there's pipes and wires and doors and windows and all that stuff. That's called greebles, and that's sort of what we're doing to an extent here. We're gonna flesh out the basic shapes, but then we're gonna add a lot of little details that kind of make the design and the look feel a lot more complete. So that's where we are now. kind of blocking things out. And soon we'll start adding those little details I referenced. Like I said, this isn't exactly like the reference image. I am going to tweak it a bit and make it my own, which I always recommend people do. Maybe I'll even grab a little Targaryen symbol and maybe add some banners or something up here. Get the sigil popping. What's up, Kevin? Is that how it's pronounced? Thanks for stopping by. Well, I am awesome at Photoshop, but that's not what I'm using right now. You are doing a great job. Wow, thank you. I think what I might do now then is add a bit of quick lighting. So we should go sort of early morning. Not that early. And even though it's early morning, this always has that sort of bluish gray by the sea, cloudy kind of look, and I want to maintain that. So I'm going to turn the sun way down. I'm also going to get this sort of orange color out of the sun because that's going to work against us. And I'm going to turn this intensity down. So I'm going to turn the saturation correction down too. Let's see what that gets us. Already closer. Sky, color warmth. I'm going to turn the color warmth down on the sky. Feeling better. Cool. Oops. Cool. So now that we're getting close, I want to add a few more details to this castle, and I think that's going to take the shape of just really some cubes and some cylinders, and just adding little bits here and there, maybe a flag or two, just stuff to make it feel like this is actually a built-out wall or a built-out castle with walls and doors and details and things like that. Let's see what we're dealing with a little bit here. Another thing that's going to help add that detail is of course some texturing. So I'm making a quick texture now to throw on to the castle. I'm going to use some diffusion and some bump and some noise in the color channel. Let's give it a bit of a rocky feel. Feeling castle-y already. I think that bump might be a little bit too strong though. I think our scale's a little crazy here too, so that bump down. Turn the scale down as well. All right, see what we're dealing with here. try. All right, and another try. As soon as I have a feeling is because of the way the light is hitting the edge of that castle. I'm going to adjust that a little bit. I also know that when we throw on glow illumination, so that stuff's going to get lit a little better. Oops. Oops. I should probably do as well is I'm going to add a little Targaryen banner here and there. I think what I'm going to do is go find that Targaryen symbol and show you how to map that onto a flag, which will be cool. All right. Details, details. Okay, so let's do this. There we go. That's a good one. All right. What you're going to do is throw that in here. Texture folder. That's what it's going to ask for anyway. Let's try this. Oops, not a new texture. All right. Targaryen banners, here we come. All right, so. What I think I'll do actually is just have these be flat planes. We're dealing with a fairly large scale in this scene, so I can just deal with a flat piece of geometry. I don't think I need to build out any depth to it. That'll make it a little simpler, save us a couple polygons in the process, will be good. So let's make this banner. What might need to happen is, well, we'll see how it goes. We might need to create a larger JPEG map depending on how the black from this background translates to the black in the banner itself. I'll show you what I mean. So first, I'm going to grab that, apply it. We don't want to tile it. We want to scale it down. So that the scale sort of matches here, right? Get that nice and circular. There we have it. Now let's see. This goes. What I think I can do is I can clear this texture, grab this eyedropper, select that black, see how this goes. That looks pretty good, but now when we render it, there's a chance you'll be able to see the edge of the black in the background of this JPEG versus the black of the material we just selected. But you know, it actually looks pretty good. So that was a quick little banner. Let's add it. So where would the Targaryen banners be hanging? Probably from on high. See how that looks. Oh, they're in the shade, so you can't even see them. So now I guess it's time to throw global illumination on. Might kick out a slightly larger rendering too. Yeah, the quality of these textures looks a lot better already. I'm going to make a quick texture for the rocks here. Hmm. More details. Oops. I think these little guys are going to go a long way. Like another effect we can add that's really going to make this scene go a long way is a bit of fog. I'm really going for that kind of gloomy, gray, you know, early morning kind of a look. So I think what we can do is, and I love this about the physical skies, you can just go in and boom, add fog. And I might even play with these volumetric clouds a little bit, although they can get a little hard to control. But so let's go in this fog. Drop the start height way down. Make it a little darker and bluer. Turn the density up a bit. Now, the fog is always something you really have to tweak the settings a lot to get quite right. I don't use this all the time, so I'm not an expert on dialing this in. And it depends on the scale of the scene based on how you set these end heights and max distances and things like that. So it's going to take perhaps a little bit of trial and error on our part, but that's okay. While that's rendering, we can mess with some other stuff. What I think I'll do is add to the water a bit. Oops. Well, this is good. So you can see a little bit of the haze building up in there. And didn't add too much to our render times. I do think I need to go in here, drop the end height a little bit, and then the max distance is what gives us, that's basically how far away into the distance it'll go. And that turning that down will eliminate this kind of hard, bright bit in the background. So I'm going to just eliminate a 0 here, see what that gets us. Let's take it down an order of magnitude. I'll rotate this just a hair, give us a slightly more 3/4 view on this castle. Make a few more of those details visible. Let's not stop this just yet. Yeah, so I was just checking out some other views of the castle, and it looks like some of these buttresses, the top edge has kind of this cool point going on. So let's set that up. Cool. And that's why I did the save as, because I'm just about to, I just expanded all of these. I'm going to make some changes. Instead of making copies of all of those guys, oops, I wanted to yeah, just do a save as, which keeps everything in place. If I need to go back a version and for some reason I decide that I don't like the revisions that I made, I can just grab from the old model, from the previous version. Get the sort of angle on each of these guys. Is good. And it's cool because I think these sort of pointy angled edges are going to give this castle a much more like aggressive, dramatic stance. Whoops. Wrong button. Fact. Maybe we can go up here and do that to these guys as well. Yeah. See? I'm feeling that. Yeah, and the haze is looking a lot better. So we lost that hard edge or that really dense bit in the background. So I had to turn that. It started at 80,000. I had to turn it down to 2,000. No, sorry, 800,000. I just turned it down to 20,000. Nope, 2,000. Hey, Chris. Thanks for stopping by, man. Today we're working on some Game of Thrones inspired stuff, modeling Dragonstone, because I'm just a giant GOT mark. I got some reference imagery pulled up here. Hola. What's up, Drew? Thanks for stopping by. Hello to Spain. Hello from San Francisco. It's so good, isn't it, Chris? I'm really feeling this this latest season. One of my favorite things actually is all these characters coming together. You know, it's all these characters that we've known and loved throughout the previous 6 episodes, and they're starting to meet up. You know, Varys is now with Daenerys, as is gosh, I forget her name, the grandma from the Tyrell family, and looks like John's gonna go meet with Daenerys. I think they're probably gonna unload a can of whoop ass soon. Although I thought Daenerys was just going to start whooping on Cersei already, but Cersei got the first hit in last night, crushing, using what's his name, the Greyjoy, Uncle Greyjoy, killing, crushing the fleet that Yara had. So who knows? I'm throwing on these clouds. I think you're going to see immediately we're going to get a bit of a cheesy, hokey effect. But I think we can adjust that down, get it looking a little more proper. Storm is a coming. And winter's already here, so see how it goes. I am kind of bummed we're only getting 7 episodes this season as opposed to the full 10. And then we're going to have to wait another year and a half or whatever it is. Tough times. You know, straight out of the gate, these clouds aren't looking too bad, actually. Let's see what they add in terms of render times. Yeah, they're going to add a bit, I think. What's cool is these clouds are all built up in layers. So you can go through and adjust them all. I think what I'll probably do is just wind up turning them all down a little bit. I can just turn down the density of each of these. You can turn some off too if you've got too much clouds going on. I think you can add, well, you can go up to 6 layers, it looks like. Should be enough for me for now. Yeah, and atmospherically, that really adds a lot. You can see that the density of the fog went up a lot in between these two renderings. So I'm still trying to dial that in, and that's going to take just a bunch of test renderings to get it right. That's all right. That's what we do. What I am going to do is turn the sky up a little bit, I think, in intensity. The sun I turned way down in intensity, but I can bring that back up a little bit. We'll see what casting shadows does with these clouds and turning down the density. We're just continuing to dial things in. Added some noise and bump to the sand. That's looking pretty good. I think I want to do, let's see how this works. I'm going to try and add this sigil a little bit larger, almost like a stone carving. So what I need to do first is just make it grayscale so that I can use it as like a bump map or even a displacement map. That works pretty well. Save that, whoops, save that as a copy. Okay. Let's try this. Whoa. Loading bits. It's pretty funny. Not even close. Just floating out in space. Cool. Hmm. Maybe I'm going to try a different approach actually. Let's try this. Oops. want. That's what I want. Oh, I didn't even have the bump channel turned on. There you go. That'll help. A little bit of a hacky way to do this. Let's see how this turns out. Well, it's interesting. I didn't notice much of a difference in the visual from hitting cast shadows with the clouds. I don't really notice any shadows that they've cast. But the render time's nearly doubled, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn the density down a little bit further on these guys. Just missed that one. It's very dense. Cool. Yeah, now we're about an hour and a half in, and I'm not as far as I would have liked to have gone. And I still want to add, some more details to the castle. I want to add more rocks and more details to this cliff face. And also, there's this great little rocky island off the coast of Dragonstone, which has this kind of dragon silhouette sculpture on it. And I have that rocky island in place here, but I still want to add that sculpture. So this may be an episode that goes too long, like a two-parter, so to speak. So that's what we're dealing with here. But I haven't done a two-parter in a while, and sometimes it's fun to do a little bit more of a complicated, intense model. And it's going to keep the excitement up for continued episodes of Game of Thrones, because we got plenty of those to come. So that's great. Hey Chris, yeah, just noticing that comment now. Yeah, the scene in the catacombs with Littlefinger. What a creep that guy is. He's gonna get it eventually. What's interesting is I saw a little thing in season one. Ned Stark did almost the same thing with Littlefinger when he was talking about Cat. Stark's not big fans of Littlefinger. Hmm. Came out a little bit better than I was expecting. Might leave that like that for now. So the noise in this cliff is feeling a little bit too uniform and regular. So what I'm going to do is make a layer, add another type of noise to it. Just scale that up a lot. And turn it down. They sort of interact. And actually, you know what, for now I'm just going to add it to this one. See what that gets us. Also not liking the way this horizon line's behaving. So what I'm going to do is just really simply make a copy of this landscape. Bring it out into the distance. Make it really wide and then just kind of flatten it out. Hopefully that just sort of flattens out the horizon line for us. And I kind of angled it a little bit, sort of pitched it up, which is kind of cheating, but I think it's going to get us what we need. Hmm. That looks much better, that horizon line. That really is starting to get that kind of hazy atmospheric feel that I'm after. So that's feeling really good. I'm liking where that's headed. I think another thing we can do is really start adding some rocks to this coastline. So I'm going to add a few of those. And I think unfortunately we're going to need to call it an episode fairly soon. I think I've shown you this technique that I've been really enjoying for making rocks, which is basically just throwing a cube in a Voronoi fracture, turning the segments up, turning off colorized fragments. Just expand it and then start grabbing chunks, dropping them in. This is going to really help a lot in getting us that sort of rocky coastline look. Oops. Bring some stuff into the foreground, which will give us a little bit more of that dynamic sort of atmospheric perspective. So it's good to establish some interest in the foreground, a little bit at least. And I can tell before the pre-pass even finishes that this is going to look good. We're going to add a lot of interest. We're going to have some more shadowing, and I think breaking up just some of these bump maps is going to give it a lot more of a natural feeling. So, and I'm also glad now that I'm thinking about it, I'm glad we're not rushing to try and finish this up in the next 20 minutes, because I think with this scene, with the amount going on and with the amount of potential it has, I think it's going to make a lot more sense to finish it up next week or maybe even the week after. Who knows? Cool. All right. That's adding a lot. I think I'm gonna next week. I'm really going to lean into these rocky cliffs and add a lot of sort of details in there, because I think has gone a long way in creating that rocky coastline. I think that's one of the things that's really cool about and memorable about Dragonstone is really it's this rocky coastline. It's where Stannis was posted up for a long time, and now Dany's got it back. I think Jon wants all the dragon glass that's underneath. And, I guess that's another reason it makes sense to wait till next week to finish this up, because that's where Jon Snow's headed this week. Awesome. Well, there we have it. We're going to cut the episode just a little bit shorter than the full 2 hours that we normally do this week. We come to a great stopping point. A couple other things I need to get to today. And here we have it, Dragonstone, or at least a good start on it, right? So it's been fun. I enjoy this process. I enjoy this practice. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been a blast. If you like what you saw, if you think a friend would find it useful, please hit like, hit subscribe, share it with that pal who would like it. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing and with the work that I'm creating and more episodes of the practice, feel free to follow me on social. I'm at DLGNCE at pretty much every social platform, but I'm most active really on Twitter and Instagram, so hit me up there. And until next week, thanks very much, and we'll see you next time at 9 Pacific, 12 Eastern. This is Stuart saying goodbye. Thanks, guys. See ya.